All right, welcome everybody. I am live, and let me make sure that I am live. I got to check everything here, see if I'm live on YouTube. I don't see myself on YouTube or on Facebook right now. Not quite sure why. I should be live there. Now it says I'm live. There we go. Okay, I'm live there. I'm pretty sure I'm live on YouTube. I didn't check that. We're live on YouTube and we're live on Facebook. I decided to come live today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good morrow, depending on where in the world you are tuning into this show, right? Well, it's not really a show. I decided to come live a day early. I was going to go Wednesday, but I decided to come today because I was in the mood. I was talking about different things spiritually. And when I was talking to Brooke, she said, see, when you're in this mood, you need to go live. So she was absolutely right. So I'm live. So share this out. I'm going to share this out. Share this out. Share this out. Share this out. See if we can get some people in here, right? Let me share this out and see who we can get in here. I'll wait and see. And if you come in, you pop into the chat, share it out, and say hello to me. So let me share this to a couple of different groups here, and we'll see what we can get in here because I didn't promote it, didn't tell anybody. But it is a Q&A, spiritual Q&A. So I will be talking, and I will be answering your questions. I will be taking questions. Those of you who are listening on the MP4 broadcast on YouTube or Facebook, I am monitoring the chat for both. So say hello, and that way I can tell that you're here. Otherwise, I don't know if you're here or not, although I don't have the window open for YouTube, but it should filter into the studio, but I'll put it up anyway just to be safe. Because sometimes it acts weird like it does with Instagram. It won't filter into the chat for whatever reason sometimes. So I'm going to go ahead and go over and open up that window and take a look. Where am I live here? There we go. I'll have to mute this. There we go. Otherwise, it's going to talk too loud. What is this? Got to close that window. Okay. So now I got a monitor up for both chats. Actually, I don't have this. There we go. Now I do. Reese, welcome, brother. Brooke, I love you. Share this out, share this out, share this out, right? So now I have a window open for both chats so I can see what's going on, because when I go live, weirdly on my page, the chat doesn't come into the studio when I'm on StreamYard. So that's annoying, right? That's annoying that it doesn't do that, but it does if I go on regular pages that I've created, right? So if I go on Orion Rising, then it does that. So Q&A, Reese, how you doing, brother? We haven't gotten a chance to talk either, have we? So I was going to talk to you. We're going to have to. How did Sunday go? Sunday was really cool, brother. The video's up. You can see it. It was really fun. I had a blast. We had a great time. We ended up making a lot of friends and meeting a lot of people. We ended up spending some money. We ended up breaking just about even with what we took in and what we spent, right? And how that goes, right? But doing the channeling was free. I was doing a free channeling. I did an hour, just under an hour, but it was amazing. We had a great time. Love the people. Love the show. We're going to go back. They're doing another one in October, so we're going to go back in October and do it again. It was great. You can watch it. Brooke filmed it. We went live from the place there. They told me I could go live as long as I did a commercial. Do a commercial for us. So I did a commercial for the event and then went live. Had a great time. Had a great audience who were asking questions and things like that. So it was really cool. I had a great time doing it. I enjoyed it. Brooke seemed to enjoy herself, right? Like I said, we made a lot of networking and people. So it was really cool. Yeah, you could watch it. It's up. I have all the MP3 broadcast up for people around the world. If you guys want to just listen to it, I'll be putting this up there probably too. I don't know. Depends on what we talk about, right? So yeah, it was really cool. November 2nd, right? 12 to 7. Thank you, Brooke. Brooke's producing me from work. Thank you, my love. So yeah, November 2nd, 12 to 7 p.m. And I believe it's at the same place, is it not? Yeah, it's going to be at the same place. So it's going to be there in Gosford again. So that'll be really cool. We had a blast. They're getting bigger each time they do it. So we're going to advertise the poop out of it, right? And look at Brooke. I know I love you, right? She's laughing. Producing me from work. I love you, baby. She's on her tea break, I think. She said she's going to be on her tea break at 10. So it's 10 o'clock in New South Wales today in Australia. So it's, what is that, 5 p.m. In West Coast America. And so 8 p.m. if you're on the East Coast of the United States, and midnight, right? Midnight thereabouts if you're in the UK. So I thought I would come on because I was in one of those moods where I was talking about just about everything just to talk about stuff. So ask questions in the chat. Let me put that banner up so it just floats there. Ask questions in the chat. All right, there we go. Ask questions in the chat, everybody. So, and share this out. So I think the message today seems to be and should be, I think everybody's kind of moving towards that. Yeah, Mystic Moon Market. Thank you. There she is again. Mystic Moon Market. I can't put that up in the chat because weirdly it's on Facebook, so I can read it to you guys. Mystic Moon Market Central Coast Leagues Club, November 2nd to November 2025, 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. New South Wales time. I'll be there again. I'm going to be channeling Thoth again from that venue. I guess I don't have my glasses on unless I'm reading the chat, right? So that was amazing. I had a good time. Did an hour. The hour went by quickly. Yeah, good thing that Brooke was there to produce me and to give me the countdown because I honestly didn't know what time it was. I just was talking and doing the Q&A, taking questions from everybody, but it was really cool. Yeah, I had a good time. You can see it. Like I said, it's on Facebook and YouTube, and you can listen to it on the MP3 file. So it's out there to hear. And I mean, if you guys know me, you probably have already heard the message before. But you know, just things seem to be moving in a good way, which is really good because if you look around, a lot of people are talking about how everybody's waking up exponentially. So I'm glad that's catching on with the way people are thinking, but there's still the majority of the people out there. You guys out there don't know what's going on, and you're not in yourself. You're not comfortable. Pardon me while I itch my eyeball. I think I have cat hair in it. It's a cat. It was getting hair in my eye earlier. So I felt like coming on live today instead of tomorrow. I'll probably go live again tomorrow to do a Q&A. But what we're going to change the time to 10 o'clock New South Wales time because Brooke was talking to other people, especially some of the people around this area that are moms that couldn't tune in because it was too early for the 8 a.m. Time and the 9 a.m. time. 8 a.m. on Saturday, and then the 9 a.m. So we're moving to 10 a.m. To come live so we can get a few more people here in this area that can tune in because by this time they've already taken the kids to school and stuff like that. And some of the moms that are out there are able to maybe tune in, you know, whereas we didn't have that kind of going on before. Right. Thank you, Brooke. She jumped in. She jumped in so I can put it up on the screen. She jumped over to the YouTube channel and typed in that so I could put it up on the screen. So it's up on the screen for you to see next month and I'll have to put my glasses on to be able to read it. Mystic Moon Market at a Central Coast Leagues Club. Once again, same place. And I don't remember the address over there, but you guys can look that up. 2nd November 2025, and it will be what did she say? 12 noon to 7? Yeah, 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. And I don't know the schedule. They haven't even put that together, but we're going to try and get the booth at the exact same place that we were at last time because we really liked the area where we were set up at. We were on a corner where people would come down an aisle this way and come across this way, and we were set up right there like that, and we had a backdrop and a shelf and stuff where we were. So we really want that same area because it was really cool. I liked it. We could set a table up, instead of being flat this way or flat that way we were setting it up. So it was, kind of crooked both ways. So we really enjoyed that. But yes, please ask questions, guys, in the chat, and let's share this out. I'm going to share it out to some more places as well. Let me go over here and hit the share button myself over here, and I'm going to share this out. Get some more people in here. Q&A, spiritual Q&A for those of you who are interested in asking questions. If you guys want to ask questions about spirituality or anything, really, even life coaching. I am a life coach and spiritual life coach. I also, those of you who don't know who I am, I'm also a minister. So, people don't realize that when I start talking and they're thinking, what's this guy talking about? And they tune in and everybody's attention span is like a half a second and then they run away. Right. But I am here to talk about things, and I will just continue to do that until people ask questions. If they're going to, I'm all checking down here to see if it's asking questions in the chat. So truly, the events I talked about, Reese, so I can tell you some more about that. I talked about the reality, the book, which you can see. I got, where am I at over here? Right. Let me go back into the studios at this side, that side, right there. We got one copy that's up over here. The ones that we took, I think I left them in the vehicle in the car. I can't find them. They're not in the house. I was going to put books up over there on the thing again on that side. And I don't know where they are. So I think we left them in the car. Not quite sure unless they're sitting on the counter in the kitchen. I didn't go there. I went and looked in the living room and stuff. And I don't know where the books are that we took over there because we sold a few of them. But don't know where they're at. So Stephanie, welcome. Yeah, she says. Yeah, Stephanie, welcome. So I'm trying to find that time where people over here, it's not too early for people in Australia, but not too late for people in like the UK. It's still going to be late for the people in the UK because they're 8 hours ahead, right? But good morning or good afternoon, Stephanie. Right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or tomorrow. So people around the world are starting to wake up. You guys need to realize what's going on. It's why I decided to come out and let people know that I have been channeling for most of the shows that I've been doing. I've been channeling and not letting you guys know that I was actually channeling. Some of you knew that I was channeling, but you guys weren't sure who it was that I was channeling because I do channel a few different people. I love you, baby. Sorry, Brooke said I have to go back to work. I love you so much. I'll see you at lunchtime, baby, when you come home. I'll make us some lunch and you come home for lunch and we'll hang out. And then you can help me ground again because by that time I'll be just getting off air and trying to ground. So I love Brooke to death. She helps me far more than she knows when I'm after I'm channeling to help me to get back in. So let me guys, how about I talk about that? How about I tell you guys about that? I talked about it in the when I was there. I drank some Ormus. I did today too. I took some Ormus and I took a couple of big gulps of Ormus beforehand. And I wasn't really paying attention to that, but there was a psychic that was up live before I was going to go live. And as I was standing there watching the psychic talk, I had about, I guess, 25 minutes or so, or somewhere right thereabouts, before I was going to go on and channel Thoth. And in my head, I hear, I am Thoth the Atlantean, and I have arrived. And I thought, oh, am I going to say that to the people when I get up there? Where did that come from? And then I hear, no, I am Thoth the Atlantean, and I am here. So Thoth was already channeling through me like 25 minutes early. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So, right. All right. So that's weird. That's cool. Didn't expect that to happen like that. And then Brooke said something to me and I turned and I looked at her and I started talking and she said, come with me. You need to eat something. And I said, I do. And she said, yes, you do. And you need to drink something. And I said, oh, okay. I said, my blood sugar level is low. And she said, no, you're already channeling. I can tell because your voice has changed and your eyes have turned gray. Come over here. You need to put some stuff in you. So I sat down and I ate some food and realized that the whole time at that point, I realized for certain that I was already channeling Thoth. He was already there. So I didn't have to do anything. It was, I think the Ormus maybe helped me shift faster. I don't know, but Thoth just moved right on in. So that was kind of cool. Because normally when I do it, I prepare a little bit, but this time it was just there. The Thoth just was there. So that was kind of cool. So I had a great time. Like we had a great time. Brooke and I had a great time. Thoth had a great time. And so that was a very interesting conversation that we had with everybody. But that was kind of cool that happening the way it did, because normally I would sit down and I would prepare and I would call in, make the channel, and do the things that you do, and I was just standing there, and Thoth was just like, "Hello, I am here." He's a poser. He's so funny. He was like, I was laughing when I was showing Brooke, because the way he was like, "I am Thoth the Atlantean, arms crossed. I am Thoth the Atlantean, and I'm here." And he's very stern, and it was funny. "I am here. I have arrived." It was hilarious. But I didn't say that out loud, but that was what was going on in my head. "I am here." And he gets this look like very regal, like he's posing for a picture. That's funny. So yeah, that was hilarious. So I had a good time. People asked some good questions. People are starting, I think, to pay attention more. The amount of people that are here, see, now he's starting to push the amount of people that have come in. People don't realize that. You guys out there don't realize that. Let me just go through the basics one more time, because you can't say it enough. I was just watching Angel Studios, props to them, doing the Chosen. Brooke and I are binge watching it from the beginning again. I've seen it and she has seen it, but not together. So we decided to start watching it. And we're on season 2 now. And even there, when you watch it, you see that Jesus, he just went to Samaria in the episode that we just saw. And he went to the well and waited for the woman in the well. And then she said, "Are you going to, tell us about, the temples and the religion?" And he said, "No, I'm only going to tell you about the heart." People tend to not realize what Jesus was talking about 2,000 years ago, because of the way that things have been maneuvered in the religions, right? Because of the way things have been maneuvered in the religions by Constantine during the First and Second Council of Nicaea, and since then, that the message has always been, if you look at, even now that I'm doing the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, Thoth's very happy about that, by the way. It's the same thing. The message to the people has always been the same, and it has more to do with love in the heart than it does anything else. And of course, the wisdom of balancing your chakras and the information that you gain from being non-self-serving, and being warned that if you're self-serving, you don't get any of this information. And people forget about that moment. I mean, I'm glad that it's in the Bible because it's there, but people don't talk about it. You don't hear priests, you don't hear, the clergy in any religion talking about that moment very often, where he said that. No, thy message is about the heart. It's about a kingdom that is non-physical. It is about a place that you can go to that is non-physical. And the message of that particular episode and the one after that was about the shepherd. He was talking to a bunch of people, and they said, about Jesus, about him hanging out with, being associated with people that were of ill repute. For instance, Matthew, who was a tax collector and was Jewish, collecting taxes for the Romans, and all the Jewish people despised him because of that, hated him because of that. Mary, who people believed was a hooker, that woman, I can't remember her name now, the one that he talked to, who was the Samaritan who told everybody about him. They had seen her the same way, right? Stephanie says, great show. I haven't watched the last 2 episodes of the newest season. I haven't even seen season 5 at all. I saw up to season 3, and I heard that season 5 just came out and they're filming season 6. So Brooke and I will reach that together, because I think Brooke only saw the first 3 seasons as well. So Stephanie says, great show. I haven't watched the last 2 episodes of the newest season because it's the Last Supper, right? Like me not watching it is preventing it from happening, right? Yeah, because of what happens to the Last Supper and after that. I was talking to the other Stephanie, and she said, I'm not going to tell you what happened. She says, but you should watch the season 5. And I said, Stephanie, you do know that I know the story, right? I do know what happens. You know that, right? And she started laughing, and she was like, yeah, right. Okay. I'm like, yeah, I do know about that. I do know what happened there. I am a minister, so I do know what happened during the Last Supper and after that. I've been teaching that for a while. And weirdly, it looks like I'm frozen on YouTube. What's going on with YouTube? Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I'm not live. Maybe I hit the button somehow, and I don't know how I did that. Let me put myself back live. Somehow I paused the button on YouTube, so I don't know what's going on with that, but I am still live there. I just, for some reason, hit the button and paused over there on YouTube. I must have did that when I wasn't paying attention. So the message, let's get back on point here with the message. The message has always been the same, but it's been slightly corrupted, right? Stephanie says, right, I know the story, but show sucks you in. It's like it's real. Like, yes. So I'm like, no, this isn't allowed. Agreed. The way they filmed that, I got to give them kudos. Brooke and I were just talking about that again last night. The way they filmed that, I believe, and so does Brooke, that the creator who's directing this in Angel Studios, whether that person knows it or not, was there, because the angles, the lighting, and the cinematography of everything and the scenes that are set up is so realistic that it triggers something in people, in their memory, that it's there. It's real, Stephanie. Exactly what you just said, right? It sucks you in. It's like it's real, like you're seeing it happening, like you're there. I've read the Bible many times. The scenes aren't described like you would if you're writing a story. They are a little bit. Matthew was meticulous. So was John, was pretty good too. Okay. Mark and Luke were pretty good, but Matthew and John were very meticulous in their style of writing. So you had a little bit more stylized writing, as if, with a better description. But the way they're filming this is incredible. That when you're watching it, it's like you said, Stephanie, it sucks you in, like you're there. It triggers something in you. And I think that it's very possible. So does Brooke. We believe that the creators of the show were there, and whether they're awake enough to know it or not, it's channeling through them, and they're setting things up to be very close. There's a few things that are different, like little John didn't have a cleft foot. The actor who's playing his part does. There's a few things that are not 100% accurate. Jesus's hair was longer. It was down past his shoulders. But mostly they're pretty accurate with what's going on. So it's kind of cool. And as I'm talking here, I'm looking out the window, and a big magpie just landed directly across from me, in the neighbor's yard, which is only about 30 yards from me, on the tree right there, looking at me. So that was kind of cool, magpie. So literally, you have, yeah, for whatever reason, I'm like lagging over here. Now I'm back live. I don't know what's going on with my YouTube channel and me trying to look at it. I'll just leave it alone and check the studio. Okay, so I believe that they're doing very good with that. I haven't gone to watch all of it all the way up to, but we'll get there. And I know the story, so I know what's going to happen. But the message that they keep kind of veering away from, I'm talking about, Reese, we're talking about The Chosen by Angel Studios. Angel Studios literally have recreated the books of Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, put them together in a series, and they just are on season 5, and they're filming season 6 today. If you have time, you should watch it. It's very, very, very well done and accurate to history. Very scary. There's a scene that they filmed in season 3, I think it was, where the scene was the lighting was beginning just as twilight was starting to happen, and when you're filming, you have to get the lighting right, because if you take a long time to film, the shadows will change and the lighting will change. They filmed this scene and they told everybody, know your lines, because we're going to try and keep filming as long as we can because we're losing daylight. And we want this scene. The scene was supposed to have taken place at twilight. So we want this scene to be doing that way. And they figured they were going to have to film it, 3 or 4 days in a row to get it right, because of trying to keep the scene going in the same time. So they started filming. They had the entire crew filming, and they started the take, and there was 20 or 30 or 40 extras in almost every shot. And they started filming it, and they just kept going. Everybody stayed in character, caught their lines, and continued going. And they filmed for, I think it was 30 to 45 minutes straight without stopping. And everyone just kept going and going and going and going and going and going. And they literally did the entire scene in one take. And when they were done, and they said cut, 2 of the cameramen collapsed from exhaustion, from holding the cameras and moving from scene to scene and angle to angle, because they also had to stay out of each other's line of sight so they could film the scene. And they filmed the entire scene in one take. I saw the makings of it. So if you guys haven't seen the Chosen by Angel Studios, that series, you should look it up and you should watch it. If you're interested in the books of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the story of Jesus, you should take a look at that, because they film it in a way that is insanely accurate, and it literally, you will believe you're there witnessing this. It is just incredible. Those guys are props to them. They're going to go down in history as filming the greatest saga of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the New Testament, because I haven't seen anything anywhere near it except for maybe the Passion, and that was done completely with Farsi and Latin and I think Yiddish. That was not done in English. It was all done with subtitles. That kudos to the Passion of the Christ, the Passion of Christ, when Mel Gibson did that. That is got to be the best, craziest movie in the world, filming that. And this series filming it, and they're doing it, translating in English for you. They're all speaking English, so you don't have to worry about reading subtitles. But yeah, wow, like freaky, like you're there. So you guys take a look at that. So The Chosen, Reese, if you have time to binge watch that, you should. You'll get hooked quick. First episode, I bet by like when we were watching it, the first, like, I think episode 2, episode 2, the beginning of episode 2 will just steal you. Episode 1 is, if you know anything about the actual history and like Nicodemus and all the characters that were in there, and it's a little hard if you don't know the characters. You should do what you should do is, this is what Brooke does. What you should do is Google Da Vinci's The Last Supper with names, and then you can look at the names that are on all of the people, so that you can learn, because they're interactive and talking, and you have to. What is that, Stephanie? Sorry, Mel Gibson was hit by lightning. No, Mel Gibson was not, but Jim Caviezel was hit by lightning when he was up on the cross, and one of the cameramen were hit by lightning. There were two. Caviezel was struck twice by lightning, and one of the cameramen were struck by lightning during the filming of the Passion. There was some other stuff that happened. I was literally just watching a video maybe 3 or 4 days ago, where they were talking about all the weird things that happened on set when they were filming that. There was a lot of things that happened during the filming of that movie. At one point, Mel Gibson tells a story that he and Jim Caviezel were sitting in a restaurant, outdoor restaurant, sitting at a table. And they did not broadcast to the world they were filming this movie. They came undercover, basically, and were filming the movie. So no one knew what was going on. And they were sitting at a cafe eating and talking. And this old woman walked up and looked at them and said, "You're doing a great deed, a great thing that God will be happy with you for you doing this. Please continue doing what you're doing and know that God sees you." And she walked away. Mel Gibson told that story, and he was like, "What? No one even knows we're here." And they didn't, Mel Gibson at the time had a beard, and he had a hat on and sunglasses, and Jim was sitting there and he had a hat, and so they were kind of undercover. But this woman just like beeline to them and said it and walked away. And then during the filming, when Jim Caviezel was carrying the cross was so heavy, it fell over on him at one point while they were filming, and it dislocated his shoulder, and he continued to film. So while he's carrying the cross all bloodied up on the way to Golgotha, to the Mountain of Skulls for his crucifixion, a lot of his actual screams and pain is real, because he bruised his face, dislocated his shoulder, and I think bruised a rib, and just kept filming anyway. So the pain that you see him in is real. So he didn't have to act. So there was a lot of crazy stuff that went on, and many people who were involved in the filming became very emotional and very religious and spiritual afterwards, because of the experience. So there was a lot of things that were kind of crazy, right? So there was a lot of stuff that, Jim Caviezel was talking about how he got struck by lightning a couple of times while he was on the cross. He got struck, and they were like, "You okay?" And they had to go and check on him. He actually had to have heart surgery afterwards to repair something because of the lightning strikes that happened to him. That it did a little bit of damage to one of his arteries, and he had to have surgery because of it. So that's kind of crazy when you think about it, right? So there was a lot of stuff that was not trying to hinder the thing, but just weird things that were happening to them, that they were like, God is knowing about this, and opposition is trying to stop us from filming this. They were aware of that, and they moved forward. So as above, so below, right? I mean, you have to realize that filming that something that great, and I'm sure there's going to be stories where there probably is. I didn't watch them when I was watching the series before. I was watching it when it would be, come on the air, and they would do 2 hours, and they would do an hour of the show, and then they're talking about The Chosen again, and then they would show the podcast where they were all talking about that particular episode and filming. And so there was things that they were talking about that that was sorry, I'm checking the different angles in my thing on YouTube again. So there were things that did happen to them as well, but I didn't get to hear all of them from the guys who filmed The Chosen, or that are filming The Chosen. So I don't know about if they had weird stuff happen, but I'm pretty sure that, because I did see some of it where they were talking, like I found out about that scene, but I didn't watch all of the episode stuff afterwards where they were showing the makings and them talking about, sitting down and talking about it afterwards, the actors and actresses that were in the show. So one day I'll have to sit down and probably get the DVDs and watch all of that. Okay, so let's get back on point, because we're going on from all that, right? So yeah, I'm bad with celebrity names. That's okay, Stephanie, right? I think we watched the same video. You might have, because there's a couple of them out there where they were talking about that. And I just watched one the other day, and they were talking about the different things that happen when they're getting struck by lightning and weird things. Okay, so yeah, this weird things happen like that on set for movies and things like that, because you have opposition. But let's get back to the point of the spirituality and the message even of Jesus, I think is being paled by, or maybe even purposely downplayed, and the crucifixion is become the forefront center of what's going on in that storyline, instead of the message of what Jesus was trying to preach. When you go to church, it talks about the crucifixion. It talks about the Judas betrayal. It talks about the Last Supper. That's what they teach you. They teach you all about that. They don't teach you about the things that he said at the Sermon on the Mount, or when he was in Capernaum, or when he went to Samaria. They don't talk about those messages. So the message when he was in Samaria, talking to the people, were because he went and talked to the woman who had had 5 husbands, and people were calling her a whore because she had 5 husbands. And she had low self-esteem and was expecting that Jesus was going to badger her and berate her because of her life, because everyone else did that. And he said, no, I'm here. I tell you that I'm here because of who you are, and that you are going to tell everyone who I am. And she was like, he said, because I am the Messiah. It was the first time he revealed himself. He revealed himself to her, not to somebody great like Nicodemus, or or somebody like that, or pious, or somebody. It was this woman, and not even a Hebrew. It was not even a Jew. It was a Samaritan. So she didn't want to have any part of it, but then he started telling her everything that she did in her life, and every person she was married to, and everything that happened. And she was like, what? And then she ran off to tell everybody who he was. And then he was in a village, and when he was in Capernaum, the same thing. He was in a village, and they were like, look who you're associating with, these people. You shouldn't be associating with these people. And he said to the Samaritans, when they talked about that, they asked him to come and speak in the synagogue. And he went into the synagogue, and he was talking, and he asked if anybody was a shepherd. And a shepherd said yes. And he said to the shepherd, if you have a flock of 100 sheep, and one of your sheep wanders away, what will you do? And he said, I would go and find it. And he would say, okay, so you would leave the other 99 sheep and go and find the one sheep? And he said, yes, because the 99 sheep, if they stuck together, they would be okay. But I can't afford to lose the one sheep. So I would go and find the one sheep. And he said, if you found that sheep, what would you do? And he said, I would pick it up and put it on my shoulders and bring it back. And so he said that God is the same way. He said, God is the same way. God will spend more time finding the lost sheep, the one who has wandered away, than the sheep that are okay, because they're okay. And so he made the comment that in heaven, there will be more more adulation over one soul that was astray that found their way home than 99 souls that were there the whole time. Meaning that it is that no one, and he even said that before that, no one is above anyone else, not in God's eyes. In God's eyes, everyone is just as valuable. And in fact, those people that are astray or lost or don't know God are more important to God than those who are already on the path of God, because they're okay. They're on the path of God. They don't need much help. But those who are off the path need to hear the word. They need to hear. This is the message that Jesus was giving. And if you go to church, you don't hear that message. You hear, come here, come to church, have a relationship with the Lord, and we'll teach you how to get to heaven. But they don't. They don't teach you anything about the message of what was said, of how to get to heaven by anyone. And I bring that up because that same message that was said, I keep, for some reason, pausing over, I don't know why I'm doing that, over on not staying live. When I leave live, it doesn't play. So maybe I'll just have to close that. I don't know what's going on with what's going on YouTube. So the message has been skewed, and it's not coming through as much. I passed around. I don't know if I put it on. I put it on my page on Facebook. There's this woman who asks. I think it's Chat GPT, the fifth version of it, which is now, I guess, been downsized. And so she's got another AI bot that she's talking to. I don't know if her stuff, I haven't vetted it, so I don't know if her stuff is legit or not. She could be programming it for all I know. I don't know the answer to that. I haven't vetted her. However, I do know that while Brooke and I were watching The Chosen last week, so it must have been Friday or Saturday, because we didn't watch it. We might have watched it on Sunday. It was one of the days we were watching it. And I had said, if Jesus were alive today, things would go against him. They would have to get rid of him. And she said, what do you think his message would be if he were alive today? And I said, if Jesus were alive today and got here, he would say, you missed my message. You didn't listen. You're not paying attention to the message that I was teaching you. Then, like the next day, I run across this on Instagram, this woman, and she asked the AI bot, if Jesus were alive today, what would be his message to the world? And the AI bot said, you guys have missed my message. You didn't listen to my message, and you're not living my message. And I smiled. I told Brooke, check this out, right? I'm like, that's kind of cool that the AI, because, pardon me, AI grabs everything from the internet and creates something. So AI is a good window or a good light onto the collective consciousness of the humans on this earth, because that's what it does. When you ask it to do something, what is this? It will go out there and gather as quickly as computer can do everything on that subject, and then take the average consensus. So it's the collective consciousness of everyone that is contributing in any way to the internet. And that's what it does. It grabs everything off of the internet and then does that. Now, the only difference is if the AI bot is created by self-serving evil people, it will be programmed, because we're already starting to see that. It'll be programmed to give you evil, self-serving narrative that they want you to hear. If it's created by someone who is in service to others, evil people will tell you that it's giving you exactly what they want you to hear, because evil people are programming theirs to be that way. But that one will be a little more honest as to grabbing the average for the rest of the internet. Do you see? So, but then you could get really paranoid and say that that's what's going on, that it's the same thing that's going on, like with the news agencies, where one's one way and one's the other. And if you listen to something, you're going to get the two sides. That's that religion. That's what they do, right? So you can get that crazy and apply that same thing. Either way, you get a different response. So when you get somebody who is an AI bot that's been created to be in service to others, you get an in service to others answer. Either way, they want you addicted to their AI bot, whatever their AI bot is, and they want them to, because they want to make money. They want to be the richest people on the face of the earth with the greatest AI bot. So you still have to look at it that way. However, I've noticed that some of these AI bots are giving you true information, and they're starting to put, people are posting it, starting to post that, or not starting to, they are posting that, where they're saying, what's going on here? What is this place about? And it's starting to pick up on so many people like myself and everyone like me who are telling you what's going on, and they're starting to mirror that, right? But there's also some little agendas in there. Like I was watching a video, they were talking about Jesus, and then they got into talking about the Christ oil. And during the time of the Christ oil, the AI bot that created it said that during that time, for that 3-day time period, you need to not eat of the tree of life. So you need to meditate and not drink alcohol. And then it said eat fruits and vegetables and don't eat red meat. Not any other kind of food, but don't eat red meat. And I was listening to all that, and I was like, really? So first of all, nobody was eating red meat back in before 200 years ago, 300 years ago. Nobody was eating regularly red meat. So the information that would have come out of the Christ oil from the Egyptians, they didn't eat red meat. The Greeks didn't eat red meat. They didn't eat cow. The Romans at the time were not eating beef, and the Hebrews didn't eat beef, and none of the people of the Middle East, because beef was and still is a sacred animal to them. So that message would have never been in that Christ oil message of don't eat foods that are bad, except for they say, it looks like I froze for a second there. I don't know what was going on with that, but it looks like my signal froze for a second. I apologize for that. But I mean, I can see them saying don't eat processed foods. So again, that was added. Don't eat processed foods and don't eat red meat, right? Processed foods, that's always a good thing. You should stay away from that anyways these days, because it's poison. But red meat is like eggs, One day there's a study that says red meat's bad for you and it'll give you a heart attack and you'll die of cancer and your butt will fall out. Then the next day they go, well, no, that's just not true. Eggs were the same way. Eggs have gone back and forth. Don't eat eggs, eat eggs. Don't eat eggs, eat eggs. Don't eat eggs, eat eggs. And that one kind of was solved when what's his name? I can't think of his name right now. Dr. Oz. When Dr. Oz had his television show, he had a lot of scientists that would come on and nutritionists would come on and talk about things to settle some of those arguments. One of the things that they did was they came on and said, eggs are absolutely good for you and you should eat 1 or 2 eggs a day. And they weren't paid off by the egg companies. And they also said that red meat information is a myth, not true at all. That's a vegan and a vegetarian line that they claim that you'll die from eating red meat, because they're like, well, they always say that, you have 15 pounds of undigested red meat in your colon. It's not in your colon. Anything you eat sits in there. And if you overcook red meat to where it's well done, then it does take longer for it to digest. But we are carnivores. Humans are carnivores. We have the large and small intestines because of that. But if you're eating, if you're eating the meat when it's overcooked, it takes longer to digest. And you're right, it does sometimes get in there, but it doesn't cause cancer and doesn't kill you. It just takes longer, and it does cause extra weight because it doesn't, and it gets trapped. That can happen with anything. You can eat anything and get it stuck in there. I have diverticulitis or diverticulosis. If I'm eating like nuts and things now that are sharp, all have the same thing, all have problems happening. And yeah, I don't know what's going on with this here. It's still pausing. I'm just going to close YouTube and let it play on its own and use the studio to see if anybody's in over there. Okay. So the message, AI is grabbing stuff, but it's now grabbing stuff that's still, this is my point. It's grabbing stuff that is, because there's so many vegans and vegetarians out there saying, don't eat red meat, don't eat processed food. It's coming through now in the programming when it's grabbing stuff. I'm not saying it's bad. It's your choice to do. I'm just saying that no one would have said that red meat or processed food until this century, right? But I agree with some of that stuff. You should pay attention to what you're eating and how much you're eating, and you should not be eating processed foods. Processed foods, especially in the United States, is poison. It's killing you. I know that because I grew up there. I just left there. I'm glad to not be there. I've lost probably 20 pounds in a month from not eating processed foods and all that poison by eating just regular food. I haven't changed how much I'm eating either. You can ask Brooke, she'll tell you. Well, she's not live now because she's working. So the message is starting to come through. Let's get back on point here. The message is starting to come through even with the AI bots now. And the AI wars have already started. So you have the AI bots now giving opposing points of view. You have the evil AI bots preaching to you exactly what their gods, what their program masters are telling them to tell you. And then you have AI bots who are being a little more honest and telling you what the collective consciousness of the world is. There's my sister. Hi, sister. There's my sister in real life. Deborah, welcome. So the message is now starting to come through. I love that idea from the AI, which says that the collective consciousness of the earth is moving towards that. Because, well, the AI bot will grab what the consensus is, what the average thought process is, the average thing that's being spoken about. I bring that up so that those of you out there listening to this and hearing me and thinking the world's coming to an end and the world is bad and there's so much chaos and there's so much, if you turn off your television, you would never know that. Okay, so there's not war blowing things up everywhere. They love to tell you that there is, but there's not that much stuff going on. Okay, and if you look around, when I was in the United States, my whole life, they were like race war, race war, race war. White and black people hating each other, and you walk outside and none of that's happening. But the news was telling you that every day. And then it was, now it's evil Palestinians, Muslims against Christians. And you walk outside and it's not that way. It's that way only on television, on the legacy news channels. And then you have people that they're paying to echo that stuff on all of the platforms. I see that all the time. Depending on the agenda, they're paying people now to look like me and to tell you things that are going on around the world. Sorry, I was sitting here and I just moved and something just fell off of me onto the floor, and it was my ring off of my other hand here. So I'm gonna reach down here and grab it. So I apologize for disappearing off camera for a second. Yeah, I put my hand in, sitting here like this, with my arms crossed, and when I moved, it slid this ring off my finger and it went flying down on the ground. So, because I've lost weight, this ring used to fit my finger. I could put it on my pointer finger now. This was tight on my ring finger, and now it's not anymore, right? So literally, I'm going to have to take it off soon because how much it's sliding off. And on this ring that my wedding band, I actually have stuff on it that is wrapped around it to make it fit better because I've lost weight. It might just be the winter over here, and now we're moving towards spring here in Australia. So we'll find out. I might get, your hands gets thinner when you're cold and expands when you're hot. Okay, so the collective consciousness of the planet has moved and has shifted to the point where where this stuff's happening. So it's not as bad as they tell you on the news. You walk outside and the things they're telling you that are happening are a lie. It's not like that. And then they do everything they can do to drive their narrative, where when they have like a rally, most of the rally is put together by those people. And the money is coming from the people that are driving politics, and they hire people to go and march on both sides, pro and con, everything. They hire people to go and march. And then they make sure that their news cameras are there to film it, that they own. So they're paying people, putting the rallies together across the world, and then paying the people to film it, and then putting it on the air to tell you that this stuff is happening. They're the ones who are creating it. It's not happening on its own. And people go, oh no, that's just spontaneous and it's happening on their own. Then I've said this over and over, and I'm going to say it again. Then why are they all wearing brand new t-shirts that were manufactured by somebody? Who paid for that? Why are they all carrying the same beautifully made, professional made signs? You don't see people walking around with a bunch of signs that they made themselves. When you do see that, you see that it's chaos. You see that people are protesting 100 different things. But when you don't, you see they all have brand new flags. They all have brand new burqas to wrap around themselves. They all have brand new t-shirts. They all have brand new signage. They all have everything, brand new tents, all of stuff, megaphones. Somebody always has a megaphone, and they always know exactly what to say. And they have their phone with a script on it, and they're reading off their phone what they want you to say. And they're chanting over and over, and they're reading it off their phone. Where are they getting all of this? Who's putting it all together? Who's paying for that? Who's bringing them there? Who's taking them home? Somebody's busing them in and busting them home. Rarely do you see people just wandering off to go get in their cars to drive away. So you have to realize, you have to see these things and realize these things, that they're every now and then someone will film them setting that up. I've seen those films. Most of the time they don't let you do that. When they see you, they confiscate. They have the police there that work for them, and they confiscate your phone, or they don't allow you to film in that area, because you can film them setting up the whole thing, a protest. And I've seen people do that, where they've literally given me their here's a film footage of them saying, these people, this is what was on the news. These people were protesting at this street corner, and the guy was standing there, and they had a table set up. The whole thing was a production line. They had a table set up with food. They had people with umbrellas. Everybody was standing around. They were being coached, and they were saying, okay, when the cameras go on, this is what we want you to say. And he was filming the whole thing. And then they were like, okay, action. And then they were like, okay, go. And then everybody was like, oh, la, la, boo, la, saying whatever they were saying. And all of a sudden they started filming, and they went live. And he was sitting there filming the whole thing going, look at this. They're putting this together like a movie production. Okay, and that went out on the air. Those things don't happen anymore because people don't want you to see them. So they don't let you see that. So they put it together, and then they make sure that the cameras are there to see it. Right? That happens all over the world. They're the ones paying for it. They're the ones that are organizing it. Very same people that are putting it on their legacy news media that they own. The money that they're putting out there is driven by them doing that. Without those things happening, then they have nothing to talk about. So they're creating the news, and they're telling you what they want you to know. Okay. The other side of that, if you only watch that's my point. If you only watch that stuff, you're going to think that the world is coming to an end, and that it's horrible, and that it's evil, and that evil is happening. And I say this all the time, especially in the United States, but around the world. We're coming up to right now the holiday season. Okay, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you're still going to celebrate. I'm in Australia. It's going to be summer during Christmas, but the people are still going to celebrate Christmas. And I say this every year around this time, because we're in the middle of September going into October now. So when October gets here, November, and we get into December specifically, you'll see that whatever government that you have in your country is going to go on holiday for that time period of Christmas. For the last couple of weeks of the year, they're going to be on holiday, and sometimes before that. In the United States, they go on holiday around, in October and in November and in December. So they don't get much work done. So at the end of October for Halloween and All Saints Day, which is November 1st, they're on holiday for that week. Then In the United States, they have Thanksgiving, which is the last Thursday, and they have Good Friday or Black Friday. Yeah, Black Friday, and they have sales for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because that's where the retail companies around the world start making a profit. So on that day specifically for the United States, the retail companies start turning a profit because the day after Thanksgiving, they have the day after Thanksgiving sales, and then that weekend. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday is nothing but people making money because everybody's off work in the United States, and they're out spending all their money on all these deals. So the politicians go on holiday, and then for Christmas and New Year's, so they take another 2 weeks off, and they don't come back until like January something, the second week in January, by the time they come back. I tell you this because even if they don't do the Thanksgiving anywhere else in the world, you still have that Christmas season, the Christmas holiday. You're so busy with the Christmas holiday that you don't notice. And everyone goes, why is it that everything is so nice and everyone's so nice to each other during Christmas? Why can't it be like this the rest of the year? What's happening at that time during Christmas? Well, it's Christmas. No, what's happening during that time of Christmas is all the politicians around the world are off as well to celebrate Christmas, and they're not in front of the cameras drumming up problems. And all the people who own the news agencies are also off for Christmas. So they're not planning protests. They're not having riots. They're not having the film footage of riots and protests. They're not having the politicians coming out in front of the cameras and telling you that the other party is evil and trying to kill you, and back and forth doing that. That goes away because none of them are there. They're all off. And when they're all off, the energy changes because there's nothing on the news. The news is down to a cat in a tree and a fire over here and a crash over there and rain or heat if you're in the area where it's summer in the southern hemisphere of the planet. Fires and heat. It's normal stuff. All of a sudden, all of the wars in the world quit and cease. If you know anything about warfare, you know that during the time of Christmas, especially Europeans don't fight. They don't go to war. War stops. If you know anything about that and look up military history, especially European military history and the style of that and them conquering the world, the Romans, the Greeks, and everybody in Europe, okay? During the Revolutionary War in the United States of America, you can look this up. George Washington, General George Washington, who became the first president of the United States, when they won their freedom, crossed the Delaware on Christmas Eve. He wasn't supposed to do that by the rules of war, by European combat, but he did it anyways because he was fighting a war for the independence of a nation. So he surprised the Hessians. The Hessians were mercenaries hired by the English king at the time, and there was a whole bunch of them at a fort across the Delaware from where he was. They crossed the Delaware, that's a river there in that area, and he crossed into New Jersey or from New Jersey across, I don't know exactly, I should know because I'm an American, but I don't remember the second, but he crossed and he got there in the morning of Christmas morning, and all the Hessians were like, Christmas is off, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, nobody fights. So they were all drinking, partying, passed out, sleeping. And he marched on the fort, and because of that, they just marched into the fort. Anyone who resisted them, they killed, which was very few, and they captured the entire group of them, plus the fort, all their food, all their ammunitions, the fort itself. Changed the course of the world because he fought on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Okay, so Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, they take the time off, and all of a sudden, everyone goes, "Oh my God, everybody's so nice at this time." Everyone's so nice at that time because their programming isn't telling them that the world is ending and that everyone's evil and that this guy is a threat to your global stability, and none of that's happening. But retail employees, Stephanie says, but retail employees always see the worst side of people. Unfortunately, you're right? If you've ever worked retail, Stephanie says, then have you ever, people are asses during that time, during Christmas. Yeah, I worked in retail for 15 years. And when you're in retail, you're right. Everybody's just like, climbing over each other to get that deal or the last of something. So yeah, that becomes when you're out there in the world and people are doing that, right? They're fighting over things, and the malls are packed, and by the time it's over, it looks like a war zone, and every store is decimated, and right. I mean, that's the way it is. But it's not protests and world domination and people going globally to conventional war or nuclear war. It's just individuals, and it's not everybody. It's individuals who are self-serving, that act like that, and they act stupid. You know what I mean? So my point of all of that is that if you're paying attention, it's being driven. The things that are happening around the world are being driven by the very people who are telling you and reporting on it. Their bosses are creating it to keep you in that mindset of believing that the world is coming to an end, or whatever. And then they're teaching you that. In the religions, they're teaching you that the Kali Yuga, or the end times, there's that word, end times, that the Ragnarok is here, right? And that this stuff is the times of tribulations is the end times, that the world's going to end. And that's just a lie. It's a miscommunication on purpose of what all of the prophecies were saying, right? Stephanie said, what battle was it that they stopped and celebrated Christmas together, then went back to fighting? During the Battle of the Bulge and a couple of other battles where they were literally fighting, and then Christmas Eve came. During World War II, that happened, and the Germans and the Americans on different sides of the lines literally stopped fighting, and the Americans were sitting and they were drinking wine, and they were singing Christmas songs and sitting around the fire, and somebody said, hey, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. And they were listening, and they thought the Germans were coming to attack, and when they started listening, they said, what is that? And they ran out into the darkness, and the Germans were overdoing the same thing. So they actually then started walking over to the Germans and found that some of the Germans were walking to them, and they were carrying meat, and they were carrying wine and brandy, and so were the Germans. And they all got together and went to each other's camp, and everybody was laughing and partying and together and eating food and celebrating, and shook hands, and then parted ways saying, tomorrow I'm going to have to kill you again. European style warfare. Not a joke. Happened in real life, Stephanie. She's aware of it, right? Happened in real life. You can look that up in history. So the politicians do the same thing, and they don't let you know that readily. And so when you're watching, if you're watching legacy news media, or you're listening and you're looking on TikTok and all those other platforms, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Snapchat, or wherever, all these different platforms that they have out there, you're going to find that there's certain specific people who are party oriented to whatever the parties are in your country. You're going to have a progressive and a conservative party in some way. Like even here, you have a party that's for the people. And right now, the conservative party in this country, like in America, the conservative party is the party of the people. Over here in Australia, the conservative party is the party of the people, at least from what I understand. And you have the progressives that are in charge right now. You have the president over here. I don't know if it's prime minister or president. I haven't learned all of the politics of Australia, but whatever that figurehead is, like we have in America, is the president. Over there is the conservative, and the conservative party has now become the People's Party over in the United States. And over here, the guy who is the prime minister or president is a progressive. And I guess he has a progressive government. So the people over here are kind of getting tired of it. And they will, just like everybody else in Europe did, and like everybody in the United States finally did. The people of Australia will do the same thing. One thing I want to say about Australia, and I wish that America did this. If you're an Australian citizen, you have to vote. If you don't vote, you get fined money. Every citizen that is of voting age in Australia has to vote. I wish they did that in the United States. You have to show up, and you have to prove that you're a citizen, and you have to vote. Otherwise, you pay the fine. So if you don't want to vote, you don't have to vote. You can just pay the fine. Say, forget it, I don't care. I'll pay the whatever the fine is. But the fines, I think it's $3,000 to $5,000 or something. You get fined. So no one wants to have that happen. So they vote. We should do that in the United States, because only about 150,000 people out of the 380,000 people that are living in the United States actually voted. So I would love to see the United States force everybody to vote, but right now they don't want that to happen because they're afraid of a popular election ideology, because the Democrats, the progressives over in America, trying to do away with the Electoral College, because they know that if they do away with the Electoral College, then you have the city of Los Angeles, San Francisco, LA, the city of Seattle, Washington, the city of New York, and like 2 other cities will, because of the population of all of those cities combined is larger than the population of the rest of the United States combined. So they know that they can get a popular vote and win every election. And that's why they've been trying to do that, trying to get rid of the Electoral College, because if they go to popular vote, they know that they have more votes in those small places that will outnumber everyone else. I mean, when you consider the population of Australia is about, I think they said 27 or 28 million people. Population of the state of California is 40 million, just California alone. So if you can get, half of California to vote for one party or the other, and it's usually more than that in the state of California that votes for one party, that's a lot of people. If you can get, 30 million people just out of one state, that's, the state of Arizona has 15 million people. The state of Nevada, I think, has a 14 or 11 million, right? So there, you're right there. That's just one state of California already outweighs 3 states in the Midwest of the United States. So then when you have New York, which has like 7 million people, or 5 million people, 7 million, somewhere around there, that adds up really quickly in their advantage. And they end up getting like 100 million people or close to it, 75 million people or more just out of like 4 cities. So that's why they want a popular vote instead of the Electoral College. But I don't know how all of that works over here. I just know that everybody has to vote. And if everybody has to vote, then you have to educate yourself. You have to make a choice. So that means you have to do something. So I kind of like that idea. I didn't know about that until I got here. And I was like, what? Man, why are we not doing that in America? Right? So I think that's kind of cool. Oh, it's $55. So it's not too bad. Reese said it's just $55. Suzanne, welcome. Reese said it's only $55 if you don't vote in New South Wales. Well, still, it's a fine, right? So I could see people not wanting to do that. So my point here, let me get back on point. My point here is that these news agencies and politicians are the ones that are causing this strife that people think is going on in the world. The world is not that way. And the reason I say that, if you look at the chat bots, the AI bots, when people ask questions like that, what would Jesus say if he were here? Then the answer is, you're missing my point. You're missing the message. Not the world's coming to an end, to look out. Do you see? So legacy media is askew, and it's being run by evil people, and they're lying to you, and they're the ones that are paying for the protests. They're the ones that are creating the protest, paying for it, and then their legacy media that they own are then going out and filming it and telling you that this is the world's coming to an end, and there's this strife and people are fighting, and there's this there's a holy war between Palestine and Christianity now, and Christendom. They're trying to drum it up the way they did in the 1100s. And it's just not true. You look around and you talk to people that are Muslim, and they're living next door to Christians, and they're friends. They're not fighting. But if you turn on the news, they're fighting. Why? Because the story, that their narrative and their control is reliant upon, and has been, their legacy media. And they're losing control of that. So they're trying to figure out how they can control the internet. And they've tried to get the internet back under their control the same way the legacy media is. But unfortunately, they don't have control of that. Otherwise, the AI bots would all be telling us that the planet is coming to an end and we're all going to die. That's not what's happening. It's only specific AI bots that everybody's looking at going, yeah, I don't trust that one. That one's full of crap. The rest of them are giving you the collective consciousness, the collective mind thought process of the people because of what's being posted on the internet. So when you ask an AI bot that's not programmed by evil people, what would Jesus say if he were alive today? The consensus is, you missed my message, you're missing the point, and you've gone astray. So it's the same message that Jesus would more than likely say if he were here today, right? Because if you're in any way spiritual and you've been studying Jesus and how he talks and thinks when he was alive, and then somebody says to you, what would Jesus say if he were here? It would be that you're missing the message. You've forgotten what I was here to tell you. And that message is the same throughout all of the religions, all of the spiritual practice. But people are not seeing that because they're keeping you distracted from doing that. I talked about this when I was channeling live. Talked about this when I was there on Sunday. Talked about exactly this, that you're being distracted by this place. It's designed to do that for you, to you, for you, to distract you. And then you have these people that know about it, and they're using the genre that they created to control everybody, mass media. And if you look on these different sites, on these different apps, you'll find that there are people that do the same thing. I'm a patriot and I'm here to tell you. And if you look at all their posts are all that. They're getting paid to do that. They're not just somebody who's doing it. They're getting paid to do it. Then you have some people that look more like they're not getting paid to do it, right? But it's hard to tell. So the point, you have to look at these things and with a grain of salt and wonder if somebody's getting paid to do what they're doing or if they're not getting paid to do what they're doing. You know what I mean? What is the message? If you hear the same words that are scripted from legacy media coming out of the mouths of people, they're getting paid for it. They have the same script. So the person on that channel that is the legacy media is telling you this, and then you go and you find some guy on TikTok or Instagram or something, or some woman, and they happen to be, you listen to them, and all of a sudden they're literally reading the same script. That means they got the same script, right? Or they're brainwashed enough to where they're saying those same words to you. I try to show that in the things that I post and talk about those things, because that is lockstep. If somebody's lockstep, they're either brainwashed or they're being paid. You see, so you have to be aware of these things that are happening so that you can then defend against them or see through them. When you pierce the veil enough, you will see through that. People start doing that at some point in their journey where you start to expand your consciousness. And that's when you start realizing, you start going, these people are lying. These people aren't telling the truth. When did they stop lying? They used to just lie. Now they're not even lying. They're just saying the same things, and they're lying. They're not hiding anymore. Well, they've never been hiding. You just didn't notice it before. They've always been that. I'll tell you that. I've been awake in this lifetime. I'll tell you that. I was a boy, and my father would say, that's how you lose a war. He was talking about Vietnam. Here's how you lose a war. Listen to how these people speak. And I was asking him questions. Why is it that when we were on that other channel, they were saying like the opposite of what was going on here? And he was saying, what do you think? You know? And it was like, I think these people have an agenda. You know, I'm like 7 and I'm realizing that. But then again, I was awake. So it's the difference. But people, you guys out there, you start to sense it at first. I don't know that I trust these people. Like with religion, some people go, I don't know that I trust these guys. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm saying that you should pay attention, because if it works for you, do it. Do what works for you. Walk your line. Walk your message. Walk your journey is yours. Walk the direction that you should. Walk your path. But you have to walk. You have to keep moving. The Buddha said that. I think Lao Tzu even said that. Most people do. Doesn't matter which direction you walk, just walk. It doesn't matter what path you're on, just take it. Find your own path. Take it. Walk that path. Find that journey. Some people, when they're on their path, they're walking along and they say, wow, there's nobody here but me. That's okay. Eventually you'll get back to civilization, because you can't, well, unless you're walking around in circles. And eventually you'll see other people that are similar to you on that same path. You'll find that it happens. Walk your line, walk your path, find your vision, find your bliss, find the things that you like to do and manifest that. But don't be swayed by these things that are going on. Make your own decisions for yourself. Listen to words like "from me" and go, let me look that up. Let me see if he's right. Don't just trust everything that you hear, because even the AI bots are lying to you. So you have to become aware of that. You can't get really paranoid and think everybody's lying to you all the time. That'll drive you crazy. That'll get you cuckoo cuckoo, because then you'll just be like, oh my God, everybody's lying and they're all evil. You can get yourself really paranoid. But it's a good thing to be semi-paranoid. It's a good thing to be paying attention and don't always believe that what you hear. I teach people that. Being Irish, we have that saying in America, I'm Irish, I don't just buy anything. I would tell people, do you see money coming out of my pocket? No, because I'm not buying what you're selling. So you have to listen to what people are saying and then investigate it yourself. If you don't investigate things, you take things on merit, and then that's what they count on. They count on the fact that you're not going to look it up for yourself. They count on the fact that you are going to just regurgitate what they're saying like a parrot. You have to stop doing that. You have to look within yourself, in your heart, because when you have someone like Charlie Kirk, who is very religious, very spiritual, and he's assassinated, and you have people literally dancing and celebrating his death, then there's a problem. The legacy media has gotten people to the point where assassination and murder is good in their minds. Think about that. Murdering someone, they're celebrating and calling for the murder of people because they don't agree with them. That needs to stop. That kind of rhetoric, when allowed, will cause societies to fall. That's what they're trying to do. You need to understand that. You need to know that they are desperate and they are in their death throes, because the way of life that they are accustomed to for the last 12,000 years is coming to an end, and they sense it, and they're desperate to keep control over the population because they need to have control to stop everyone from doing what they're doing. They would love to stop me or anyone else from having these conversations and saying these things. They're trying to pass laws now all over the world that if I say something wrong that they don't agree with, they can arrest me. They're trying to do that all over the world. Okay. And right, Suzanne said, absolutely right. It's horrible. It is. It's horrible what they're doing. It's horrible that they're allowed to do it. We have to educate each other. That's why they're trying to educate the children. That's why they're taking control of the schools and the colleges around the world. And COVID, whatever you think of COVID, was probably the best thing that's happened to this planet in a very long time. I've said that in many circles, and there are many other people who agree, because COVID forced people to wake up. COVID had people changing their opinion and looking at things in a different way. Like, I don't know how it was in Australia, but in America, the kids had to stay home because the schools were closed. So they had to be online like this on a computer to learn. However, the parents who also had to stay home, the teachers told them they couldn't sit in the classroom. Even if the parents said, well, what if I don't say anything? No, because they didn't want the parents to know what they were teaching their kids. That actually happened in the United States. And parents were saying, well, what is it that you're telling my child that I can't hear? And they were like, well, we're going to turn your kid's computer off and not allow your kid to be on the Zoom call if you don't leave the room. So that started some parents being really angry and trying to figure out why. And once they tuned in secretly and didn't let them know, they started realizing, wait a minute, they're saying things that don't have anything to do with anything. When I was in my 20s, I had my stepson was in public school in the state of California. And he came home one day and told me that his English teacher told him that if he ate red meat, his butt was gonna fall out, his colon was gonna fall out, he's gonna get cancer and die. So I asked the school board, why is it that an English teacher is teaching my child to be a vegetarian and telling him that if he eats red meat, he's going to get colon cancer and die, and to tell your parents that they're going to die, scaring this child into thinking that the parents are going to die. And they treated me the same way that they were treating people in the United States until about 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. Really up until Donald Trump got back into the presidency, they were treating me like I was a problem. And they were basically like, sir, you're going to have to, your time is up and you're going to have to go. So we pulled him out of public school and homeschooled him, and then put him back into public school for his senior year in high school so that he could graduate with that. And we enrolled him in a bunch of, courses for sports. So he still had that interaction with the other kids, football, baseball, hockey, and basketball, and all that stuff. So he still had that. And then he got to graduate with a graduating class for his senior year. But that was, I'm 58. That was when I was 27, 28, 30 years ago. So it's gotten worse. And in some countries, they realized that and they started taking back that control. COVID, not only that portion, but COVID forced people to take a different look on life, because they were like, we all might die. We all might die. We need to take another look. You reevaluate your life if your life depends on it. So COVID scared people around the world. A lot of families were broke up because of it, had split up. Husbands and wives got divorced. A lot of other families who were about to get divorced ended up getting way better together because of it. So you have to realize that it takes, unfortunately, sometimes something like that to happen to get people to that dark night of the soul. And the human race is going through that dark night of the soul and has been for a long time. But the legacy media and the people who own the legacy media are the same people that own all the corporations and all the news channels and the internet. Those people are trying to keep control of the world, and they're in their death throes. Their way of life's ending. They can't stop it, but they're trying. They're trying to do everything they can do to get a world war going so they can eliminate people. They're trying everything they can do to get you to believe every word that they're saying so that they can get you back under their control and put you back to sleep. That's what's happening. That's what they're trying to do. And many millions of you around the world seeing me say this and hearing my voice and other people talking, you guys are starting to realize it. You're starting to go, yeah, they're lying a lot more than you were before. They've been lying to you the whole time. You're the one who has changed. You're the one who has done that. It's in movies. They put it in movies and they tell you the same story, but you don't notice it. Like, I don't remember the name of the movie, but the movie with vampires fighting the Lycans, the werewolves against the vampires. And they made like 4 movies. The very first one, in the very beginning of it, Celine, the character, the woman who is a vampire hunter, she starts getting on to this guy who is a prince in the coven, seems to be helping the werewolves, and she thinks he's evil, and she's going to go and wake up the coven leader and tell him about it. And the guy says to her, Celine, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're doing. One day you're going to believe me. One day you're going to be just like me and you're going to agree with me. And she was like, no. And if you're watching the movie, you think he's evil because she's the star that you're following. And by the second or third movie, you realize he's not the evil one. And that the heads of the coven were evil and that she was blindly following them. And she starts waking up to that. That's what's going on in the world. And people are starting to wake up. And at first, when they see things, they think, what are these people doing? And then they start looking at the people on the news agencies or whatever, and they start waking up and they start going, these people are lying. When did this start? It's always been that way, guys. You just are now changed. You've changed. And you have become Celine in movie 2 or 3, where she started to realize that what you think is the authorities, what you think are good people, are not as good as you think they are, and that there's some evil people behind the scenes. And They're the ones that have been pulling the wool over your eyes for a very long time. And that is changing, and their way of life is dying, and it's going away. The earth isn't going to blow up. That's what they want you to think, and they want you to manifest that, because the collective consciousness of this place will manifest what's going to happen here, because this matrix will make it so. So if they can convince everyone the world's coming to an end and we're all going to die and we're going to blow up because of nuclear fallout or a nuclear war, and we're all going to spin off into space, like the song from Iron Butterfly, I think it was Iron Butterfly, said, that song, that's what'll happen, because that's what they want to happen, if that's what everybody believes. But that's not what everybody's believing. Everybody's not believing that, so it's not going to happen the way they think it's going to happen. So they're trying to do everything they can do to get everybody convinced of that as soon as they can, because their way of life is ending. The world's not going to come to an end. We're not all going to die. Things are going to change, and they're not going to have the power and the control that they have now. And that's what's happening around the world. People are taking back the control from away from these government leaders who have gone astray, and people are just changing. And that's changing everything. And there'll be a seminal point that we're getting close to reaching. And I don't know if you know what that means, but it's like a wave that is about to crest. It's cresting and it about crashes. The seminal point means the point of no return. So that's when the wave starts to crash and you cannot stop it. That's what's about to happen on this earth. The earth is getting to the seminal point. It's getting to the point of no return. And I don't mean because we're going to end of all life on earth. It's getting to the point that change is coming and they can't stop it. They're holding back. They're trying to be that dam, the brace of that. And they're trying to go, no, don't look over here. Look over there. Look, there's something bad over here. We're all going to die. Don't let that happen. We'll all die if that happens. If you do what you want to do, we're all going to die. And we'll just stop. Don't do it. You're going to die. They're yelling and screaming and they're scared to death. Because we're not going to die. They're going to cease to have the power and the control that they have. And they don't want that. They need desperately to have that power and that control. So literally you have to see that. You have to look around and realize that you have that power and control, because you're a co-creator here. This matrix works on the collective consciousness of the collective. So if the collective of people on this earth say no war, there will not be any war. And people will say to me, that's just not true. The governments will go to war. The governments will not go to war if the people of that country say you will not go to war. Because the people will then stop them. And if the people don't stop them and the government says, no, we're doing what we want and you have no say, then the people will rise up against them and stop them. They'll vote them out of office, or they'll overthrow the government. They will stop them unless the government is completely designed themselves to stop you from doing that. And then they will have to start killing people. So far, that has only happened in a few places, right? And usually when that happens, the people win. People don't know that a few years ago during COVID, Iceland did it. Iceland overthrew their government because the government was doing tyrannical things during COVID. And the people said, no, we're not locking down. No, we're not doing that. And the government said, we're going to do whatever we want. And you don't have any choice. The people arrested them and changed the government. Your government doesn't want you to know about that, but you can look it up. Okay. And that happens. People turn against that tyrannical ideology. All over Europe, it was happening. During these last election cycles. In Canada, they asked Justin Trudeau to step down. In the United States, they voted Donald Trump back in, whether you like him or not. He's probably just as evil as the other people because he's related to them. But he's not evil in that way. He's at least on the surface for the people and doing things to help the people. So whatever part of that religion you follow, it's not my religion. My religion is spirituality. My religion is not politic. So if you guys are following that religion and you call yourself, if you're in America, if you have a D or an R after your name, I didn't have anything. I was no party affiliation, not even independent. That's a party. That's a political party. I was registered as no party affiliation. I am an anarchist. I don't believe that governments should exist. They don't need to. We need laws, but it's common law by the people. We don't need government officials because they get corrupted. We need people that watchdog that to not allow corruption to happen. We need laws because people do evil shit. Evil people do evil shit. There's 14% of the population of this earth that are self-serving. They're evil. That's what it is. There's no middle line. No, I'm not good or evil. I'm neutral. You're not neutral. If you're saying you're neutral, you're actually evil, and you just don't want people to know that you're evil. Because nobody who's in service to others would claim they're neutral. Only self-serving people claim they're neutral because they don't want people to think they're evil. That's the truth of it. Evil people seek power 100% of the time. So when you look at politicians, it's the other way around. 86% of the people that are politicians are evil, and 14% are in service to others. On this planet, 86% of the population of the people on this planet are in service to others. 14% are evil. They're in service to self. Okay. But it gets skewed the other way when you get into their religion. The true religion of evil is power, money, and control. So that means business, money that you have to pay for everything. They charge you to breathe. They charge you to eat. They charge you to sleep. That is control. Government orchestrates that control. Business orchestrates that control. That regulates that you have to have money, you have to have borders, you have to have everything has to be a border. So you have to have a house that has walls, and you have a border, and you have to pay a tithing to a king, to a sheriff. They just changed the name of what that is. In the UK, you have a king. In the United States, you have the president. It's still the same figurehead. Okay. And they don't actually run the country. The king doesn't run the United Kingdom anymore. The parliament does. The president doesn't run the United States. The parliament does. The House and the Senate does. And they're supposed to be representative of the people, right? But they don't do the people's bidding. The people vote them in, and then they do their own bidding, and they all get rich. And they do whatever they want. Okay. So you have to see those things. Even if you don't, and you don't want anything to do with politics, look around. The world isn't as bad as they're trying to tell you on television. I always tell everybody, turn off your television. I tell everybody to do that all the time. Turn your television off. Stop watching legacy media. Stop watching media online. Look at entertainment things, or go and talk to people. You're going to discover that when you turn back on the television, it's crazy. When I was a teenager, we used to go camping every year around the 4th of July, because that's a holiday for the United States, right? Because of the Revolutionary War and the Declaration of Independence. So we would go camping for a week or two, right? No television. At the time, we didn't have cell phones. So it was books and talking to people and doing things, right? And I remember every time I would come home from camping and I would turn on the television and I would see whatever was on the TV, some program that was on, or the news or anything. If you're away from it for a couple of weeks, and then you turn it on, then it takes a minute for it to sink in, to grab you again. And you look at it and you go, what is this? What is it? What is happening? Even the programs that are supposed to be entertaining and entertainment, you look at it and it moves weird. It doesn't seem right. And until it locks you back into that matrix of itself, it seems foreign right away. And the news is, if you actually pay attention to what's being told to you on the news, they tell you like one positive story per hour. Everything else is negative. These people are dying. This is going on. Death, destruction, mayhem, fire, chaos. And then they're like, somebody saved someone's life. Somebody reunited with somebody. But the truth is, most of it's negative. You have to really pay attention to that. If you find a news agency that's not doing that, that's the one you might want to pay attention to for a minute or two, just to see what's happening. Are they spreading fear by what they're saying, or are they not? What are they not telling you? I always tell everyone, don't watch one channel. If you're going to watch legacy news, find the opposing view to whatever that you have and watch them for an hour, and then watch that one for an hour, or 30 minutes and 30 minutes, 20 minutes and 20 minutes. If something's going on that everyone is on the channel of, watch both. Turn on whatever you watch and listen to that for 30 minutes, and then turn on what you think is the opposing view and listen to what they say about the same scenario, the same thing that's happening. If you have children you do this, or you have to do this. If you have children and you have more than one child and they get into an argument, if you sit there with the two of them in front of you, they're both going to just argue. So you have to separate them. Okay. If you separate your children and go, you go in that room over there and you go in that room over there, and I'm going to come and talk to you individually. You go over there, each one is going to point the finger at the other one, and they're going to point themselves and paint themselves as a victim. The other one is the one who did it. The other one started it. I wasn't doing anything. And then you go, okay, and you leave that one and go to the other one. You're going to find the same thing. It's going to be the same story from them, from the opposing point of view. That's what's happening on the news. When an investigator is investigating something, a police officer shows up on a crime scene or a car accident, the first thing they do is bring in another police officer or two. They control the scene, but they also control the people. They separate them. Because if you get people sitting together, they're going to make up the story, and they're all going to start telling the same story, because they're going to go, yeah, that's the way I saw it. Yeah, me too. That's the way I saw it. You separate those people from talking to each other to where they can't hear each other, and you interview them and you ask them what they saw. You're going to find that what they saw was completely different. It's going to be similar, but it's going to be different, because everybody sees things differently than each other. So the police will do that. And then the other police officer will then go and interview you, and you go, well, I just told this person what he just asked me, or she just asked me. I want you to tell me too. Because what they do is they record that, what the person said. Then they go to each other. What did that person tell you? This is what that person told me. Did their story stay the same, or did it change? Then they go and do the same thing on the opposing side. And what happens is, when you have two kids, he started it. No, she started it. He hit me. No, he hit me. She hit me. You're going to find out the true story. What happened? They got into a fight. Who started it? You're going to find out the true story of what happened. One of them is lying and one of them is telling the truth, or they're both lying. You'll figure that out. So the only way that you can balance out what's going on in the world in legacy media is to actually listen to opposing points of views and find out what they're saying. Because if you don't do that, you're only going to hear one side. And if you believe that side, which is what they count on, then they're only going to tell you what they want you to know. And you're not going to look it up, and they count on you never looking it up. Okay, so they'll take, if it's a person like here in this country right now, I believe the progressive is in charge, say, of the prime minister or president, whatever their title is. I hear people over here saying that that's a progressive person. So if you're on the opposing point of view of the conservative party, then they're going to paint that person as evil and destroying the world and just hideous, going to kill us all. We're all going to get into war and we're going to die. Then when you go over to the other side, they're going to be saying, this person's the savior, doing all these good deeds and making sure that everybody has food and all of this stuff. Okay, so they're both painting the extreme. So now the only way you can know what's actually happening is to pay attention to what that person's actually doing. Do you know that person is doing something, but now you don't know exactly what? You have to do that, because if you don't, you're going to believe that one side and you're going to go, we need to kill that guy, or that guy is a savior and those people are crazy, because that's what they're telling you. So you have to listen to both sides so that you can get down the middle and find out what it is that's really going on. And you have to watch these people, or you have to abstain from it. Because if you're only going to be brainwashed by one side, you're only going to get told what they want you to know, because that's what they're doing. And they do that everywhere with everything. So you have to realize that, because evil people will lie to you and good people will not. You have to try and figure out how you can figure out who the good people are and who the evil people are, or you'll never get anywhere in life, and you'll only do what people tell you to do. And then you get stuck here like what's happening now, and you'll never ascend. Okay, I'm going to go, guys. I thought I would come on, like I said, and talk to you guys and give you guys the same message that I'm giving. You guys know that if you know me, I just go on this message until people ask me questions. I'll probably come back live tomorrow. I'll definitely be back live on Friday. So we'll see how it goes. I'm trying to get on more now that I'm not taking care of my mom anymore. I can come on and do an hour. I was only going to do an hour, and I'm almost 2 hours in today. Yeah, hour 44, hour 45. I was only going to do an hour, but I did a little bit more. So I love you guys. I'll probably be on tomorrow. I'll try to only do an hour, but know that I'll be on. I'll just say I'm going to be on 10 o'clock tomorrow, not 9 o'clock. I'll be on at 10 o'clock in the morning, New South Wales time. That will be 4 p.m. West Coast America time instead of 3 p.m. West Coast America time. Actually, it would have been no. It'll be 7 or 8 o'clock West Coast America time. You guys got to figure that out. Yeah, it's 10 in the morning. Because if it was 8 in the morning, it would be 3. So 9 in the morning is 4, and 10 in the morning is 5. So it'll be right around there, 5 o'clock. Unless the time changes, that'll be happening pretty soon. But I'll be live again tomorrow, and I'll try to go only an hour. So if you have questions, spiritual questions, even political questions, if you have just questions about life, pop in and ask me, guys, because I can help that. I am a life coach, a spiritual life coach, and a life coach, and a medium, and I channel. So this is the next phase of what we're trying to work at, to let you guys know that and to get more into detail. I was doing this in a Zoom call. Now I'm doing this live for those of you who are not afraid to ask questions live. All right, guys, I love you. I will see you tomorrow. If not, I'll see you on Friday. We will be doing some more of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. We're on chapter 5, I believe, is where we are now. We're on book 5 or chapter 5. All right, guys, I love you guys. Have a great day. I will see you guys later.